Hello, everybody. Welcome to Most Wanted Topics. I'm your host, Kevin Dennison. Along with me, per usual, is Atomic Tommy. Atomic Tommy, how you doing?
Oh, man, we're doing awesome. We got our dog down here cooking up, too. I don't think I can't really see him.
Our dog likes the podcast. What
he's
can we
with
say?
us.
But anyway, good show today for you guys. We want to tell you that we want to say thank you. We're wrapping up our food drive for Veep this week. So that was a successful turnout. We appreciate everybody taking advantage of the 15% off by bringing in their donated food items.
Yep.
So I want to thank you for that. And we want to announce that we're coming into Yo Jovember.
Yo Jovember.
November. We got a lot of things going on for that. Let's start off with a big announcement. Everybody has already heard it, but we're going to say it again. November 23rd, Larry Hama will be in our store, Most Wanted Comics, in beautiful Bloomington, Minnesota. And that's going to be a lot of fun, 10 to 4.
Yeah, Larry Hama is going to be awesome. I think everybody's excited for it. Doesn't get out here that often, so everybody just come on, take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, 10 to 4, November 23rd, but also we'll have our bin of different G.I. Joe action. We're going to have a $2 bin of just G.I. Joe parts and figures and everything G.I. Joe related. It's going to be a $2 bin. So if you need pieces, if you put together G.I. Joe figures, we'll have that in the bin, and also whole figures, just all sorts of G.I. Joe stuff in a $2 bin throughout the month. And then we'll have other things too. I think we're going to do some toy photography.
Yeah, we're gonna have some more details coming up on a potential contest our G.I. Joe fans and classified collectors in our community can enter.
Yep.
We think it'll be pretty cool and a pretty fun way to maybe win some cool stuff. So
stay tuned for next week as we get that set out. But so all you enthusiasts of toy photography, and get your Joes ready, because we're going to do some pretty cool stuff with our G.I. Joe figures.
Absolutely.
All right. So that leading on to that, let's talk about some comics that came out, and let's talk about what's coming out this week.
Yeah, there are a few books that we need to talk about. Let's start with Absolute Wonder Woman, right? Another Absolute title.
Banger.
Another absolute banger. Just a really, really solid book. I think the highlight for me was that the change. I think the highlight in this one really were the changes that they made to her origin. In Absolute Batman, the highlights I think really were in how cool Batman was, right? I mean, the axe to the way Alfred was describing his fighting style. The changes to the origin of Batman were cool, but how they really explained Batman with those changes were really cool too. And I think Wonder Woman actually did a really good job with that as well. I think that was really the highlight here. Because, being raised in hell, right? And they were able, in that, being essentially the only original Wonder Woman, raised on an island of other warriors, right? Well, not here. And here she's in hell with one other person, her sort of surrogate mother. And I really like how they were able to still work in her desire to care for others, desire to protect beings through, how they showed the animals, right? How she connected with the animals. I thought was a really cool way to do that. And a really cool way to set up the character to sort of where they bring it into in that book where she's fighting in sort of the present. Really cool. Absolute Wonder Woman, really solid, but I do have to keep it honest with you guys. Not as cool as Absolute Batman. Right?
Absolute Batman was better. There's no doubt about it.
I did enjoy that slightly more, but Absolute Wonder Woman was still really good. Let's talk now about another book, DC Elseworlds Green Lantern Dark. A book that I mentioned last week that I was looking forward to, and I'm here to report on it briefly. Man, that was also really cool. This book did a really good job of playing into sort of the mystical, maybe fantasy elements of Green Lantern. I mean, this at its core was a fantasy book. I mean, sometimes you forget that they're even, on Earth, right? So it's very different, but very good. And they managed to work in sort of monsters and sort of the popularity of that, which is really cool. But for those thinking maybe this is a different take on the Green Lantern Corps, or, a different take on, outer space and stuff like that, it is not. This actually, I would say, is more closely aligned with the type of story we'd see with like Alan Scott and where his powers come from. Because Alan Scott, if you remember, is not a member of the Green Lantern Corps. His powers are a lot more mystical and a lot more, just a lot more fantasy. It fits really well into this genre because his powers come from like the Starheart and all that stuff, which is very different than anything like Hal Jordan or John Stewart would encounter. So Green Lantern Dark really does a good job of bringing Green Lantern back to those type of storytelling. Because I think that's something they've always struggled with, like Alan Scott. You know, like they don't really know what to do with Alan Scott. They don't really know how to work that character into the Green Lantern mythos. So it's really weird. Like, you know, he's there in like Justice Society and stuff, but Alan Scott just doesn't really do a whole lot anymore. It's really cool to see Green Lantern sort of having those stories again. So that was Green Lantern Dark. The other book I want to briefly touch on, but not a whole lot, was Iron Man #1. Gotta be honest with ya, didn't really do anything for me on Iron Man #1. You know,
not a lot for me either.
It was kind of cool to see the Bendis run suit back. That's one of my favorite suits in Iron Man. I'll put a picture of it in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But I do really like that suit. It was fun to see that back, but that was honestly the only highlight for me. Really the only thing I could really think about reading it is, okay, here's 10 issues of this, and then, we're going to restart it again, because that's all anybody knows what to do with Iron Man. Mm-hmm. So it is really weird. It's really weird, like, the setup, Iron Man mysteriously falls out of the sky because of magic. That's kind of weird, because wouldn't Iron Man have, like, anti-magic on all of his armor at this point? You know what I mean? Like, because they kind of explain that by, like, oh, I wasn't wearing my anti-magic armor, and I just kind of like, well, shouldn't you have that on all of your armor when, like, 20+% of everybody you fight wields magic, so it's kind of like, I like to think that that's kind of stupid, but anyway, that's Iron Man #1. Not a whole lot for me to say about that, honestly, other than it was kind of mid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it didn't knock my shoes off in any way. I mean, no. I was indifferent whether I read it or not. It wouldn't have made a difference to me. No, I think it's all about the DC Universe right now, looking for the absolute titles. The X-Men titles have it all gobbled up at Marvel. And Image is still kicking ass with their stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty much right now status quo. That's pretty much all I have about that. I mean, there's really not much more to say. It's pretty status quo right now. Yeah. Looking for the absolute stuff, and that's about it.
Moving on to what's coming out next week, or this week, I should say. It's a very business as usual week, Not a whole lot, honestly, other than Amazing Spider-Man #60. Why is Amazing Spider-Man #60 a big deal? Because it is the final Zeb Wells issue of Amazing Spider-Man. At least for right now, this is the end of Zeb Wells on Amazing Spider-Man. Probably one of the most divisive Amazing Spider-Man runs since, anything to do with, like, Brand New Day or One More Day and all that kind of stuff, which was almost, like, 20 years ago or something.
The question is, are you going to celebrate after that issue comes out?
We will be doing, keep an eye out, because we are going to be doing a review of the whole run, all 60 issues.
We'll have to bring in the Souser for that one.
We might have to bring in the Souser. We don't do that all the time. But for this one, it's warranted, because there's so much to talk about, so much good, so much bad. What went wrong is absolutely needed for these 60 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. So
next time we'll do an intervention of Amazing Spider-Man.
We will at some point within the next few weeks here, we will be doing an Amazing Spider-Man breakdown. So that is this week. That's a big deal. It is. And that's going to, I think, be the highlight of the week.
That'll take up a whole show.
That'll be a whole thing. That's going to be a whole show.
All right. If you like what you see, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like what you see. And also, it's time for our shout-outs.
Shout-outs.
We got to get some shout-outs out there. Want to say hi to Matt and JD, of course. Thank you guys for your support. Dan, our State Farm man, and also Jamie. Want to say hi to you guys. Jimmy D'Souza. How you doing? Caleb, how you doing out there? David, a.k.a. Superman, we know you're watching. Thanks for all your support, buddy. Of course, Mark, the Gossage family, and then the other Mark, Pat, Sydney, Brian, Ryan, Jeff, Jim, Liz, Sheila, Rick, and Melissa, and our Up North contingent. How you guys doing up there? Thank you for your support. Absolute bangers up there, you guys. Thanks for supporting us, and look forward to seeing you at Twin City Con. Yeah, so if you'd like to make sure you get on our shout-out list, make sure you email us or give us a comment and let us know you want to be included in that, and we'll try to remember to give you a shout-out. But, hey, Halloween week, everybody stay safe trick-or-treating out there. We want to hear about some cool costumes after we wrap that up next week. We're into November already, Yo-Jovember. So everybody have a safe week, have fun trick-or-treating, and we will see you next week, everybody.